This is why only fools are heroes. 'Cause you never know when some lunatic's gonna come along with a sadistic choice. Let die the woman you love, or suffer the little... Wait, Robin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I think you know full well, Green Ranger.
Are you insinuating that we ripped off Batman Forever?
Holy plagiarism!
Shut up, Robin.
Oh boy. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. In this corner, the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Animated Series Green Goblin, and in this corner, the Spider-Man Animated Series Mary Jane. Both figures are in the same 2-pack, but which one is the better value? Stylistically, it's the exact same as the Doc Ock Aunt May 2-pack we looked at last time, and is meant to evoke a VHS case. The size isn't the same, but as you can see, the dimensions are proportionate. Specifically, it's meant to look like 2 VHS tapes in a slipcase. I unfortunately don't have any tapes in the slipcase, but putting a couple back to back and you can see what I mean, especially with how the Marvel Legends logo is meant to evoke the VHS symbol. Combined with the Mojo World TV, it makes for a lot of fun, and while having a blister card or a window is always my preference, I don't mind this because it's an online exclusive. The reason I want a window is so I can look at paint abs or make sure the figure I'm actually buying is in there, but in a situation like this, it doesn't apply. The other reason for a window is if you're an inbox collector, you can display your collection. But again, a really cool display feature is built in. Flip it around and we get some classic animated series style product shots on the back. Either that or digital renders. We're honestly getting to a point where I can barely tell anymore. Either way, since they come in the same box for packaging, this round is a draw. Moving on to presentation, and Mary Jane stands at 6 inches with Green Goblin coming to 6 1/2. Collectors who got Ant-Man Dr. Octopus mainly wanted one figure over the other, and I expect that that's going to be the case here. I also expect that the reason why people are going to want this Goblin is because they missed out on this one. And why did people want this Goblin? Because they missed out on this one. For those wondering, here's the new head on the retro card body. The greens are slightly different, but do match well enough, and even though the hat doesn't match the costume, it does kind of match the purse.
It's not a purse!
When this figure came out, it was very dynamic. The scales were shiny, almost like armor. The purple was purple. The head, while not accurate, was sufficiently creepy. Then this one came along. The head sculpt was a lot more comic accurate, but the painting on the eyes left something to be desired, and for whatever reason, his costume went from purple to magenta. Now his costume's hot pink, and they use the arms and legs from Bucky Cap. Don't get me wrong, I get that they didn't really draw the scales on the animated series, so not having them is accurate, but Bucky Cap? Also, look at just how gummy these joints are. Also, I'm not entirely sure where this belt came from, but it's not actually accurate to the cartoon. In the cartoon, he had a circular belt buckle with a button on it that he used to control his glider. The darker undies are accurate to the cartoon though, and though it might not be my personal preference, so is the hot pink costume. The head's really good. It does look like the cartoon and has a lot of personality. The eyes are also painted much better here than on the retro card. As for Mary Jane, she's a completely new sculpt. Although I suppose the hands might be reuse. Out of the package and her head kind of sticks out a bit far, but pushing back on the dumbbell joint is a lot more natural. What's not so natural is this very vibrant red. She is based on a cartoon though. I know this version of Mary Jane has very little resemblance to the comic, but through the lens of nostalgia, I always liked this design. I also like that they made her pinless, and even gave her her little cowboy boots. Flipping her around, and here's MJ from the back. The new head on this Goblin is great, but the Bucky Cap reuse feels cheap, and the quality of plastic feels even cheaper. While this design might not be everybody's favorite, at least this Mary Jane is new. For presentation, this round goes to MJ. Moving on to posability, and definitely a few differences here. From the top, Norman's head's on a ball joint and a disc hinge, whereas Mary Jane is on a dumbbell joint. So already, Goblin was going to have the better range, but then you add Mary Jane's hair in, and of course there's no way she's looking up. Here's Gobby by contrast, but she can look down just fine, and Goblin can bury that oversized chin. Unfortunately, he does not get much in the way of tilt. MJ hasn't beaten that department, but both figures can look all the way around. around. Moving down, and both have swivel hinge shoulders, with Mary Jane having the much better reach. But whereas Green Goblin has bicep swivel and double jointed elbows, Mary Jane has swivel hinge elbows with a very deep bend. So deep, in fact, that side to side I would say it's even a little bit better than Green Goblin's. At the end of their reach though, they both have swivel hinge wrists. Goblin does have the better range there. Moving to the middle, and Goblin has an ab crunch and a waist swivel. Mary Jane just has a diaphragm joint. They can arch back this far, which is fairly equivalent, and they can hunch forward this far, with Goblin having the edge. That said, all that Norman can do is twist at the waist, whereas MJ can twist and tilt. Below the non-screen accurate belt, and we find ball jointed hips. Their kick is fairly equivalent, but whereas Mary Jane can only spread this wide, Goblin can do a perfect split. Better than perfect if you bend those gummy knees. Moving down, to both have thigh cut, double jointed knees, with Mary Jane's being pinless and getting the better bend, boot cut, which was a wonderful surprise for Mary Jane, and Marvel Legends ankles that can hinge and pivot. There are some limitations that MJ has that the Goblin doesn't, and vice versa. Additionally, there are some things MJ can do the Goblin can't, and vice versa. Since they're so evenly matched for posability, this round is a draw. Moving on to playability, and there's not much here in the accessories department. MJ is preloaded with an open hand and fist, but she comes with an extra fist and open hand to complete the set. Goblin, of course, comes with his purse.
It's not a purse, it's a satchel.
Based on this alternate Norman Osborn head, I'm guessing it's where he keeps his rouge, eyeshadow, and lipstick. By contrast, here's the previous Norman Osborn head that we got with the RetroCard version. He's also got his tried and true pumpkin bombs. He can hold on to it like so, and it's actually a pretty snug grip. Of course, Goblin's gotta come with his glider. It's the same basic sculpt we've been seeing for years. The only difference is this time it's cast in purple and has this face up front. Thanks to his little elf shoes, he stands on it like so. It does have this port at the bottom though, just in case you've got to spare one of these. Word to the wise, if you're gonna do it, I would recommend hitting that glider with a hairdryer first. But playability is more than just pumpkin bombs and satchels. It's also about how well your figures play with others. First off, and here's the original animated series Mary Jane. This was from a famous couple's 2-pack and was just a repainted Invisible Woman. For just some of the Green Goblins that got us here, and here's the original animated one by Toy Biz, a Marvel's Famous Moments 2-pack version by Toy Biz, the original Toy Biz Marvel Legends Series 10 version, the Hasbro Marvel Legends Sandman Wave version, and the RetroCard version. For a couple of other animated series figures, and here's Dr. Octopus Sans Tentacles, and Aunt May. For a couple of other civilians, and here's a RetroCard Peter Parker, and the RetroCard J. Jonah Jameson. Back to the animated series, and here's the RetroCard Cell Shaded Venom, and while I don't have the animated series Carnage, I do have this one. For another RetroCard, and here's Mysterio, but for a couple of Gobby's other adversaries, and here's Hobgoblin as he appeared in the Toy Biz Spider-Man Classic series, and the Hasbro RetroCard Deluxe Kingpin. For one other larger-than-life Spider-Man foe, and here we have the Rhino. For another yellow-clad animated redhead in Peter's life, and here's Firestar from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. But for a couple of other rivals to Mary Jane's affection, and here we have Gwen Stacy and Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. As for Spider-Man himself, and here's a RetroCard version, Renew Your Vows, and the Amazing Friends 3-pack version. This is the same body that Hasbro used for the animated series RetroCard version. For a relative scale comparison, here's a Green Goblin and Mary Jane with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. One thing I'm sure you'd love to see, however, are some Mary Jane head swaps. First up, and here's a Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack version. The skin tones unfortunately do not match at all, which is a shame because I actually do like the head sculpt on this body. Other way around, and again the skin tones don't match. Also, is it just me or does this MJ head kind of look like Emma Stone? If you wanted to, you could downplay the mismatched skin tone by swapping out the hands also, but then of course you're left with the neck. Oh hey, we have the same purse.
It's not a purse!
Next up, we've got to bring Gwen Stacy back out. Why, you ask? Because she also has a Mary Jane head. Although there's a slight difference in skin tones, this one matches up really well. Zooming in, you can barely tell the difference between the head and the neck. It stands out a bit more this way around, but still not bad. Honestly, it's that Wendy's red hair that really pulls focus. And lastly, here she is with Spinnerette from the Renew Your Vows 2-pack. And here you go. No, she also comes with an unmasked Mary Jane, and this one might be my favorite yet. It's the same sculpt as the Gwen Stacy one, but painted differently, and to my eye, this red is just about perfect. The hair isn't completely flush with the body, but I think it works fine. To be honest, if I display this figure, this might just be how I do it. Other way around, and again, that neon red really stands out. While MJ does have some head swap potential, I have to admit that it's mostly switching out different heads for this one. Goblin, on the other hand, not only has more accessories, but does fill a bigger hole in more people's collections. collection. For playability, this round goes to Goblin. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Even though there are people selling this set on eBay for ridiculous amounts of money, it's still readily available on Hasbro Pulse for only $52.99. That said, I'm sure a lot of collectors would agree that $52.99 is pretty ridiculous too. If all you want's a Mary Jane, you can get the 2-pack version loose for only $50 or the Gwen Stacy one for even less. If, however, you want a retro card Green Goblin, that's going to set you back anywhere from $75 upward. And that's not even talking about the Sandman Wave version. I personally wanted this for the Mary Jane, but if you want a Green Goblin and you're working on a budget, this is gonna be your best bet. For price, this round goes to Goblin, who wins the battle 4-3. If you've picked up or are planning on picking up this set, is it more for Goblin or more for MJ? Sound off in the comments below. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.